Nice to see you again. Please come. We're waiting for you. We think. I just share it my view. We think that you are the only person that can give us practical clues of how this industry shift can be put into practical solutions.
I'll do my best.
Okay, and I know that most of your experience comes from United States. Yeah, would you present yourself and tell us a couple of words about that valuable experience that you have beyond travel industry?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I hand over to you.
Thank you. It's good afternoon. As you can tell from my American voice, it's great to be home. What I mean by this, and you don't know this, and many people wouldn't know this, but my mother's mother is from Odessa. We can test this later if I can do the vodka or the palinka, whatever the equivalent spirits are. The cherry liquor for sure. But I think I'll pass any test. It's a privilege to be here. I'm always very passionate. You'll see I use a lot of the E word while I speak about digital, but I very, very much like to evangelize all of the observations that we see as humans and as travelers. And now as I look after customer solutions for retail, really understand your business objectives and challenges and try to mirror these trends with technology to opportunities for us collectively. And it's unquestionable how much of an impact we're observing. 6 hours and 45 minutes. That's not how long I'm talking, don't worry. 6 hours and 45 minutes is how much I spend every day on this screen. And everyone has this opportunity to see this with a newer feature the last couple of years called Screen Time, which I encourage you to look at. And when you look closer, half of that is social networking. Half of that is productivity. I kind of argue amongst many of my colleagues, is social networking productivity? And we'll come back to that. But unquestionably, Anna's a friend on Facebook. Hassan, who's my head of sales for all things traveler focused and mobile focused, is a friend. I'm a very big prosumer. I produce a lot of content. But unequivocally, the way that our lives require ourselves in different meetings and different conversations, this is a tool that's indispensable. But it has impacts that we have to observe. And certainly we're seeing this in entertainment. We're seeing this in family time, before and after. We're seeing this in what used to be the most coveted, sought after, physical object a teenager could want. And now they want it before being a teenager. And I believe, Hassan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but even last week, France has banned all mobile phones for children under 15. So it's something that we're seeing travel before, travel now. And it's indicative, it's not ignorable of what we see, and we've heard it from Anna. It's about experience management. It's not about trip management anymore. And it's not about a lot of what we do still. Let's be honest with ourselves. We print itineraries. We all are. I'm sure Anna has a portfolio of them. I see her bag coming out with paper. And it's something that's going to be habitual. But the more we realize what we're doing with these itineraries, we're looking at them to appreciate there are events, another E word, there are events in our lives that while we travel can become experiences. It could be transactions, but they could be experiences. It's all how we look at it. And so when you look at modern travel, you can never argue against how frustrating it is. And on one side of the equation, you have a real desire and thirst for an answer. You're going to have a result that a traveler is going to look elsewhere and not necessarily to you. That while you're frantically on the other side of the equation trying to resolve a problem or a challenge or an unexpected intrusion to their trip, it isn't meeting their expectations and they get really, really feel. And I really like to use this. It's going to be impossible to read, so I'll read it aloud. This is a real example. Flight delays really suck. We're sorry that you're, Y-O-U-R, we'll come back to that, delayed, Michael. Relieve that stress with a quick massage, head over to the lounge for a recharge, or give us a shout. So with 3 options. Now think of this. Some of us already subscribe to, for free or not free, with Google, not Google, these alerts. Your flight is delayed. Which is just an invitation for stress. What now? What do I do? What's the next step to this? Do I just, lo and behold, go to the bar? Do I do something else? Do I send a conference call? A lot of things you can do. But when you look at it how your friend would say it, or your loved one would say it, like, dude, shit, we're stuck here another hour, right? It's human. So there's no reason to ignore a technical automated mechanism, because that is what that is, technically delivered to me, with a little of humanity, a little of personalization, and a little of real to it, including the misspelling, which I didn't catch till recently. But that's how authentic it is. Because more likely than not, your spell correct was probably not going to always spell correct. And I think it's this really belief of, we've heard the theme this morning, it's human, is analog and digital. It's a combination. Let's look at some modern characters and some older characters. How cool would it have been, and how cool would it be while we travel to have C-3PO next to us, constantly looking in the horizon to help out that crazy Han Solo? How nice would it be to be super contextual, almost anal, with Kit and helping him, the Hoth, be a better driver and solve the crimes he does? And finally, wow, genuinely a data mine with Dida. How awesome would it to be to always be optimistic, always be responsive, always be that cool, really friend on your shoulder when things go wrong when you travel? Because when you look at how one would look at this from a theoretical perspective, there are all kinds of invitations to lose your customer here. There's all kinds of opportunities to lose loyalty here. And that is something technically, with your human touch, you can address. And if you look at mobile with traveler servicing, I think it's the key. It's the key to experience management. We have such a investment historically in everything we wish to do and all the complexity of the content you need to sort out to acquire that traveler in the first place. But when we think of what remains, why would we even ignore these opportunities that are full circle and everything that really we should be trusting the traveler, that as long as we expose it in the right context with the right humanity, and I realize it's very, very difficult to read, we can empower them to really have a friction-free experience to a lot of events that are in an individual's travel journey. So how do we look at this more practically? Let me give you a little bit of an insight behind the scenes. This is a genuine screenshot of not something user-friendly in the sense that this is how we map a traveler journey. We take that thing we all have in common, those 6 digits, that P and R, and we isolate and anticipate, and we use artificial intelligence, we use mathematics to predict. A lot of it isn't rocket science. Whether you're a business traveler, or a pleasure traveler, or a leisure traveler. On usually a round trip, you have 2 endpoints, irrespective if you have a layover, and those 2 endpoints can result in 2 transfer services to hotel, from hotel to airport, vice versa, and or 2 transfer services and 1 parking. You can have a lot of permutations, but not infinite permutations, and we map them. We map them with the best guess when we don't know the history of the PNR or the user behind it. And then we, over time, realize similarities. There's a commonality, a percentage, a likelihood, flights are delayed. In fact, we just published 2 days ago, interestingly enough, a API, an application programming interface, a technical mechanism, should you have your own technical resources, to get data on any flight in the world of its propensity to be on time or not, prior to the booking. And that's intended for a AMADEUS for developers community, part of our desire to be more and more open. So we're using our own dog food, we say. Maybe it's an American phrase, we're eating our own dog food. And what we preach is what we practice, which is why I have 6 hours and 45 minutes screen time, because I'm constantly utilizing our mobile services myself, and I know Hassan does as well. And we know your travelers have this ferocious appetite. This is probably your crave right there. And yet they're looking at, they have 8 seconds, like, right there. They're not really easy to get that attention. So let me walk you through a couple different approaches, fundamentally real. These aren't screen captures of fantasy, of what we do and what services and solutions we are excited to have our travelers in common experience. So one is coming from our innovation team. Now, this is a team I personally have much envy of, because another American term, they're propeller heads, right? They're always thinking. And they have the luxury of always thinking without profitability. The best place to be, right? So the innovation team is a little ahead of mass scale, a little ahead of industrialized products, probably a little bit ignorant of customer servicing and some things, but genuinely on the right direction. And these are live. So there's a site, which I will encourage you, and I think there's a session on this afternoon about innovation, so I won't take too much of their thunder. But there's a site called Get Feezy. And the first thing you'll see is freaking easy travel. Now, I did not come up with that, but freaking is an American derivative of bad word, easy. And so already you see nothing from an AMADEUS branding perspective. It's this zebra, it's this unicorn, but its invitation to you is to be that pet, to be that concierge along your journey. And what they're doing exclusively and uniquely is appreciative that more of your time than not, and that screen time when you see it, will probably confirm my suspicions. You're in WhatsApp, you're in Messenger, you're in communications. You're more likely speaking to loved ones, friends, and colleagues, no matter where you are in the world. In some parts of the world, like China and elsewhere, you're using those applications to pay for things, for pay for Ubers, for commerce, which we come back to. But in today's Western world, and particularly Facebook, of which these examples are drawn, you don't have all of that Asia influence yet, with the expectation that you're going to be in the Messenger channel. So what this does is it invites you to send your travel through an email, through a WhatsApp, whatever you want to do. Then, because that screenshot I used just a moment ago, it maps your journey. It could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now. And it anticipates, without harassment, on what you may or may not like. And these are real examples just 3 days ago of my experience arriving to Budapest, where I booked a transfer, I booked a tour, an activity, all through the messaging applications, all through Get Feezy. So your travelers have this mobile-first lifestyle. It's been proved with the evidence of the 6 hours and 45 minutes. Now, some of you are still questioning that number. I don't even do gaming. I assure you that 6 hours and 45 minutes is absent Netflix. But the other approach we're taking, which is the more industrialized approach of the several years of investment, which we're quite proud of, is to appreciate some of you are more inclined and confronting the challenges of your offline or analog business and realizing those customers of yours are digital. And we're finding that there's an interest to maintain that analog and in-person consultative conversation, but still appeal to their expectations of your brand, to be digital. So this is a white label, to use that terminology, but it's your brand. Myself and Hassan have this on our phones as examples, because PowerPoint can only illustrate so much. It's really more empowering, another E word, to see it live. And what this is your brand. This is a fictitious brand, although it's up for grabs if someone wants to buy it. Swiping right. And we saw the humorous, very always fun Nike example of swipe right. Because people do swipe and right. It's a lexicon now. It's actually how you even buy things, how you confirm on Uber, how you confirm in banking accounts. It's kind of funny where it started with Tinder, but it's become part of how you actually interact with your mobile phone for commerce. And I'm not going to really elaborate all of this. There's a lot of bullet points here. But the point here, the methodology, is to be very, very clear. These are your travelers. So the first thing is to delight your users, to give them an understanding that you're not behind the times. You don't need an e-commerce site. You don't need this big brand per se. They already trusted you. They've already bought the ticket with you. There's nothing to win them over there. Where the win them over is exactly this experience management. So to delight their users, to grow a community, because as you grow a community, we collectively get data to realize like-for-like opportunities and like-for-like circumstances that, wow, everyone who leaves Kiev through Brussels to get to Madrid, that's the way I'm going tomorrow, may or may not confront a rainstorm along the way. So there are these kinds of patterns we learn when you grow your community. We ultimately save costs. Anything one does digitally isn't at the expense of human labor. It's actually to the invitation to applying that human expertise, or let's be honest, their days are all too long altogether. Let's be more efficient, another E word, in how they run their business. And finally, of course, is let's make some money, right? Because all these events today, you're more likely than not exercising all the opportunities you can. Mathematically, you can. In fact, to give me an example, and this is intended to be checklist, this is another version of that same thing I showed before that the innovation team had done. This is all falling off, I hope you can hear me. Is really, per the PNR and per the user, and I'll backtrack while we're talking. We have a funnel, right? We have a funnel of all the activities we anticipate. This is something, thank you, we can configure in advance. What are some services really near and dear to you? What are ones that honestly you wouldn't have any other notion of the right transfer provider in Madrid for your internationally inclined business customers? Things of this effect. So it's something you're involved with. And it's intentionally something a little more mutual and interactive. So this doesn't come overnight per se. This is a plan we create together. But it shows the intensity of what our dedication is to make you successful with your users as they come to you digitally. And so when you think of this as their examples, there are probably 4 really cool opportunities. One, I've said this repetitively, ancillary services. All the icons speak for themselves. Secondly, this is unique. These are promotions and or offers or programmable events along the lines of kind of what you saw there of the invitation to the lounge. So these are actually your words. Clearly it could be in Ukrainian, clearly it could be in any language that you write in a customized manner. Hey, I want to reach, and particularly, for example, MICE events, I want to reach the customers of mine that I just handled on behalf of Corporation X that are arriving in Brussels in this window of time with a personalized message. Dear Michael, dear Hassan, dear Anna. You can then, of course, really get bold, and I put this sequentially on purpose. I'm hearing this from some of you already. Some of these customers, they're your customers. They have walked into your office before, but now maybe their interest is to WhatsApp you. Maybe their interest is to digitally buy through you. And so they're booking tools that are definitely available through mobile. That shouldn't scare anyone. And honestly, you probably do it yourself a little. And then finally, and this is just to show the mass amount of different resources we have within Amadeus, there are even advertising opportunities where we have a dedicated group that brings brands like Rolex and other brands looking to match affinity to business travelers or to affluence to bring that brand to your user community's attention. So why am I so evangelistic, and I hope I don't come off as salesy because this is genuinely my passion here, because we've done a lot that we're very proud of. We have an asset called Check My Trip. We've really turned it around. We've won the best travel app in the world last year. We have this competition with Booking.com, Expedia, real brands I look up to. So this is something I'm very proud of the team for not only competing but winning. We have 4.7 rated application with thousands of reviews and millions of users, so it isn't just a lark, it's actually something earned. 4.7 out of 5, by the way. Some people haven't realized that, so it's a good ratio. And we have this really wonderful collection, not exhaustively, but at the end of the day, there's only so many permutations of ancillaries, over 20 different providers of parking, of transfers, of activities, but also of visa services, which is very concerning in markets that are growing their industrial and their international bases, which I realized, I showed this in Turkey on last week. I didn't realize I needed a visa. And then when I arrived, they said, "Where's your visa?" Which is at first a very unpleasant experience when you don't have an answer, because I have had that same experience without an answer and it was turned around. But then the back of my mind is like, well, Turkish Airlines allowed you here, so something's, visa on arrival, just around the corner. But shame on me, right? Shame on me as a real interested traveler and also having resources to solve anxieties, and here I just suffered an anxiety real time. And I used 6 different providers myself. I obviously bought the ticket, I got a hotel reservation, blah, blah, blah. I still didn't have that peace of mind. And that's something I promised the audience in Istanbul that I would correct. That we'd have visa services in the applications and in the messaging services as soon as possible. So we're really right by you, and you're right by us. So this is a real nice capture of something Hassan and his team have led, which is nothing better than teaching fishermen how to fish differently. I'm sure I blew that analogy. I'm sure there's something more poetic in Ukrainian, but when we really see our customers succeed, we stop evangelizing, we stop consulting, we stop. Because they get it, it clicks in, they're seeing results, they're seeing all the things I saw, all the things I mentioned, excuse me. They're growing their users, they're having a community, they're having efficiencies in their own organizations, and most importantly, they're growing revenue. And they sit and now stand, just like I am with you, on stage at major events. This was an event this year in the UK, I believe. We've had these events in ITB Berlin. Really, it's really a proud moment when we can have our customers speak for ourselves, and they're our partners. And so it's something I'm very, very proud of. And finally, just to have a concluding soundbite, because somehow I always seem to be scheduled before food, which I'm happy to leave you with that. There are really just 2 things I've covered here. And one, I've even deviated from some of the terminology that we've heard from this morning, because I think it's important. We're really discussing the traveler seller, how you reach the traveler, for that traveler to make the decision of which you're responsible and you're enjoying the benefits of. And then we have a little more complicated solution, a little more requiring of your time and your brand and your creative specialist to think of how your brand should be best explored digitally so that you have an application in Google, you have an application in Apple, but powered by all that technology I've just mentioned. So with this, I really thank you very much. Why wait? Let's go talk about